you, the head editor of your company is Xi Jinping. It's not. Oh, well, according to this, you have daily meetings with the CCP where you play chess and give them American data. That doesn't happen. Yes or no question. What color is the algorithm? I don't really think that's a yes. Yes or no question. What color is the algorithm? I can't really, it's more complicated. I see you're not willing to answer. Now, TikTok shows a lot of blasphemous and dangerous things to children that could endanger their lives. The video I'm about to show you is very disturbing, but it's what's being shown on TikTok. Mr. Shochu, how do you sleep at night knowing that American children are being shown sick, nasty tricks that they could never accomplish? What?
So we're seriously doing another video about the TikTok ban? Ma'am, I don't know how many times I have to reiterate this. ByteDance is a privately owned company. We are not sharing your information with China. That would be unethical. Ma'am, if I may, I'd like to ask Mr. Zuckerberg a few questions. Literally no one likes him, so go ahead. Mr. Zuckerberg, you openly support the claim that TikTok steals our information and sends it to China. Yes, because they do, bitch. Tight, do you have any evidence to support that claim? Okay, and by evidence, you mean like shit that proves that they're actually doing it? Yep, that's what I mean, bitch. I mean, I ain't got none on me, but it doesn't mean that they're not doing it though, right? So because they data mine, they are capable of giving our information to China. Exactly. Doesn't that mean that you could do the same thing? Huh? Doesn't that mean that you could do the same thing, bitch? I mean, come on, bitch, you'll do anything for a buck. Your Honor, are you gonna let him talk to me like this? Yeah, I am. I mean, you're about to sell verification, aren't you? Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, the whole point of verification is to prove that people are who they say they are, right? And that's for people's safety. So it's not like you really care about their safety. You just care about this money. And getting rid of TikTok would secure you more money, right? Bitch, you are so impressed with yourself right now. I just want to know, is this really about security or is this about you getting rid of the competition? What are you asking, bitch? You are losing users left and right. And there is no evidence of America's information being given to China. But you need this committee to believe that there is, don't you? You need TikTok gone, don't you? You want me to answer your question? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth, bitch. Son, we live in a world ruled by two things, capitalism and technology. And when it comes to those two things, I was the best there ever was. I mean, who else is gonna do it? You? TikTok? TikTok? I have a greater responsibility than you could possibly fathom. You weep for TikTok and you curse Instagram and Facebook. You have the luxury of not knowing what I know. That while banning TikTok, as tragic as that may be, saves jobs. That my existence, while grotesque and incomprehensible to you, saves jobs. You don't want the truth because deep down in places you don't talk about at parties, you want me on your phone. You need me on your phone. You use words like data mining, bribery. I use them as the backbone of what I've built over these 20 years. You use them as a punchline. I have neither the time nor the inclination to explain myself to a man who enjoys the very social media that I provide, but then questions the manner in which I provide it. I would rather you just say thank you and be on your way. Otherwise, I suggest you get out a laptop and start coding. Either way, I don't give a damn what you think you're entitled to. Sir, are you trying to get rid of TikTok to save your own ass? I'm doing what I have to do. Are you trying to get rid of TikTok to save your own ass? You're goddamn right I am, bitch! Damn, you really got caught in 4K, right? Like, you really just told on yourself. The fuck? Taco Bell, you got anything, bitch? Ha ha. Show me the money. First of all, wrong movie. Second of all, that is not your slogan, bitch!
Good evening, and thank you for joining me here with Conversations with Taz with Think About It Thursday. And if you can't tell, you must be new here because, yes, I watched the hearing. And yes, we're going to get into it. Were there moments where the questions were valid? Absolutely. Absolutely. Were there far too many moments where life was imitating a comedic sketch? Absolutely. 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 So, whew. Let's just jump right on into it. And if you don't have a beverage and you don't have a snack, you're definitely new around here. Turn up your volume and go run and get it, because this is going to take a minute, y'all. Y'all know how we do. We'll see you in 2 and 2. Woo!
Have any moderation tools been used to remove content on TikTok associated with the Uyghur genocide? Yes or no?
We do not remove that kind of content. TikTok is a place of freedom of expression. And Cheryl, just like I said, if you use our app, you can go on it and you will see a lot of users around the world expressing content on that topic and many others.
Thank you. What about the massacre in Tiananmen Square? Yes or no?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
The massacre in Tiananmen Square.
That kind of content is available on our platform. You can go and search it.
I will remind you that making false or misleading statements to Congress is a federal crime.
I understand. Again, if you go on our platform, you will find that
question.
content.
Okay, thank you. Reclaiming my time, can you say with 100% certainty that ByteDance or the CCP cannot use your company or its divisions to heed content to promote pro-CCP messages for an act of aggression against Taiwan?
We do not promote or remove content at the request of the Chinese government.
The question is, the question is, are you 100% certain that they cannot use your company to promote such messages?
It is our commitment to this committee and all our users that we will keep this free from any manipulation by any government.
If you can't say 100% certain, I take that as a no.
Before we move on to the other videos, I do have to intervene here. Let's keep in mind that Kim Jong-un is currently utilizing YouTube to spread propaganda to the world about how great his citizens have it. Let's continue.
Problems of social media platforms, content moderation, algorithmic discrimination, and safety are neither new nor unique to TikTok. For example, I was disturbed by reports that TikTok content moderation algorithm flagged words like Black or Black Lives Matter as inappropriate content. So my first question, Mr. Chu, is do you agree that platforms like TikTok should be subject to regular audits or transparency requirements to identify whether policies have a disparate impact on communities that are protected classes, like race, religion, national origin, or gender?
I think, Congresswoman, I think platforms should be very transparent. You can come and say whatever you want, as long as you don't violate the rules of safety that were put in place.
It is vital that the diverse culture of the United States is reflected online, but I'm concerned the algorithms and content moderation practices employed by TikTok are ignorant to the fundamental diversity while also failing to remove content that is harmful. My next question to you is, it's my understanding that users must be in good standing to be eligible for compensation from TikTok's Creator Fund. For example, they can't have violated community guidelines. Is this correct?
There are some details there, but directionally, yes.
If TikTok's algorithm is flagging content incorrectly, resulting in creators violating community guidelines when in fact they have not, those creators would not be eligible to receive compensation under the Creator Fund, correct?
We do have an appeals process.
You have an appeals process, okay.
Yes.
In my view, if TikTok employs algorithms that disproportionately remove content from Black creators, it disproportionately silences and excludes Black creators from compensation opportunities. And this problem happens in parallel to the lack of adequate recognition, attribution, and compensation to Black creatives for their content. The exploitation, cultural misappropriations, the erasure of Black creatives' ownership of their fashion, art, and media is nothing new. We need transparency, accountability, and bold action to mitigate against misinformation, bias, and exclusion of certain communities from the opportunities present on platforms like TikTok. So let me just say this. I'm concerned about transparency. I am concerned about algorithmic accountability. And I'm not clear that your organization holds those values.
Once again, just got to jump in here. Black, brown, indigenous people of color on TikTok are consistently stifled. People are allowed to say the most egregious, racist, homophobic, xenophobic, et cetera, things. But the moment that we defend ourselves, we're penalized. And even if we win the appeal process, which has become more restrictive over the years, because before you could type in and say why, now you really can't. And if you don't pay attention to the precise prompts, you may hit something and you might not even be submitting for an appeal. But even when your content is restored, that's still a strike against you.
Help me make this make sense. In one congressional hearing, we had Republicans screaming at the CEO of a company, claiming that the app that CEO runs is putting our American children at risk. And while that's going on, Republicans are silencing the voices of parents who want to protect children. That's the father of one of the children who died in the Parkland shooting. Let that sink in. Republicans are screaming at another country to be parents to protect the children, but when an American parent wants to protect children, they put them in handcuffs. Make it make fucking sense. You won't do a fucking thing to stop school shootings, but you will ban the app that talks about school shootings. The fuck?
All right, I'm back from the TikTok hearing and here to give you a rundown. For those of you who are watching on C-SPAN, yes, I was sitting directly behind Show 2. And then a media outlet told me I probably ruined my career by sitting behind him, and I told them I don't have a career without TikTok. Which is also true for the 5 million business owners on this app. And it seems worth pointing out, if Santa Claus thinks that you're on the naughty list, maybe you're not on the right side of the TikTok argument. A couple things I was able to take notes on, and then we'll just go through my tweets. Congress is not just proposing a ban on TikTok, they want the broad power to ban any app that they deem unsafe. They also want the power to amend Section 230, otherwise known as the 26 words that invented the internet. They want the ability to severely limit free speech, and they're using TikTok as the vehicle to kind of like wedge their way into that. They talked a lot about banning accounts for kids under 13, but they did not address how many family accounts there are. And what would happen to them? They also did not talk about the religious communities who built their ministries on TikTok. They have online ministries that were built during the pandemic, and they are very concerned about the scattering of their flock if this app were to go down. Many pastors saying that a ban on TikTok would be the same thing as shutting down churches. Most of their questioning had to do with their children not adhering to rules on the internet, and I don't know, maybe they were asking the government for more help to parent their and other people's kids. Rep. Ruiz had one good question, which is how many Spanish-speaking moderators are there? That's excellent. That's something that I wish they would have let him answer. But also complained that there's a lot of medical misinformation on the app. Okay, but when medical misinformation was being taken down, Congress claimed that conservative voices were being unfairly censored with regards to pro-ivermectin and anti-vax content. Rep. Weber from Texas said that TikTok content is both communist CCP propaganda and, at the very same time, woke. Now, Rep. Dingle had a great question. She's from Michigan, and she said it was important to her that she knows that TikTok isn't using geo-targeting data that could be accessed by people's abusers or stalkers to cause harm. That's a good question. Another good question came from Rep. Clark, who was asking, does TikTok shadow ban or limit the reach of Black and other marginalized communities? And if they do, is that cutting those communities out of compensation opportunities? Many members of Congress wanted Shochu to commit to the idea that he could perfectly moderate content. They were very upset about a video that had a gun in it, but then doesn't want to do anything about gun legislation in real life. Those of you asking, this is what it looked like from my point of view. Also saw Rep. Frost in the hallway. What's up, Maxwell? 2 different Congress people asked why there isn't more accurate information about abortion and how to perform an at-home abortion on TikTok. They asked why the American version of the app doesn't censor its users the way that China does. And they continue to quote the Wall Street Journal or Forbes magazine as their source of information for just about every accusation they levied at TikTok. Wall Street Journal, which is owned by the Australian billionaire Rupert Murdoch, who also owns Fox News, who's also a big supporter of Facebook. But the hands-down most unhinged part of the trial was when Congressman Pence was yelling at Shochu, "You get paid, when do I get paid?"
Let me go back to the 60-minute limit. Because my understanding is that teens can pretty easily bypass the notification to continue using the app if they want to. I mean, let's face it, our teens are smarter than we are by half, and they know how to use the technology, and they can get around these limits if they want to. Are you measuring how many teens continue to exceed the 60 minutes of time on that app?
We understand
sense how that's working.
We understand those concerns. Our intention is to have the teens and their parents have these conversations about what is the appropriate amount of time for social media. That's why we give the parents what we call family pairing.
Let me ask you this question before I run out of time. If you concluded that putting some reasonable limits in place and trying to find a way to enforce them would lead some percentage of your users to leave TikTok and go somewhere else, is that something that you're prepared to accept?
Yes. We do not collect body, face, or voice data to identify our users.
I find that hard to believe. It's our understanding that they're looking at the eyes. How do you determine what age they are then?
We rely on age gating as our key age assurance.
Age
gating, which is when you ask the user what age they are. We have also developed some tools where we look at their public profile to go through the videos that they post to see whether...
Well, that's creepy. Tell me more about that.
It's public. So if you post a video, you choose that video to go public, that's how you get people to see your video. We look at those to see if it matches up the age that you talked about. Now, this is a real challenge for our industry because privacy versus age assurance is a really big problem.
Look, you keep talking about the industry. We're talking about TikTok. You keep talking about the industry. We're talking about TikTok here. We're talking about children dying. Do you know how many children have died because of this? Do you have any idea? Can you tell me?
Congressman, again, it's heartbreaking.
Can you tell me how many children in America have died because of challenges like this?
The majority of people who use our platform use it for positive experiences.
That's not what I asked you. I asked you, tell me the number of children, of U.S. children who have died because of these challenges.
Congressman, again, the majority of people who come on our platform get a good experience.
I'm not talking about the majority of children. I want to know a number.
Dangerous challenges are not allowed on our platform. If we find them, we will remove them. We take this very seriously.
Obviously, you found one today and you removed it. We had to bring it to your attention, and I know I'm out of time. Thank you for being here. Welcome again to the most bipartisan committee in Congress.
Now, I got to bring you some context. Let's start with the last video and that congressman and his line of questioning. He still stands firmly behind the Second Amendment and has stated on his website that he will fight against any changes to the Second Amendment. And what is the leading cause of death right now for children in the United States? Not online challenges, which the vast majority of the TikTok challenges were rumors that then became challenges. Kind of like the whole Halloween candy hoax that pops up every year, but I digress. He doesn't care about that. There was an 11-year-old girl who was, and we talked about this, systemically and repetitively assaulted by her brother, received no prenatal care, no postnatal care, and was forced to give birth. No anesthesia, no doctor, no midwife, no doula, no nothing. But the parents wanted to make sure the baby got attention. So the baby went to the hospital and not the 11-year-old. Where was that? Because we're going to act like internet challenges began with TikTok. I know when we made the migration from Black Planet and MySpace onto Facebook and other social media platforms, things started getting real toxic and real crazy. The community changed online. And you see how they keep, what about limiting this? And that's your job as a parent. But what does that have to do with data security? What does that have to do with data security? You not knowing what your children are doing online and what they're looking at, and you not putting proper parental controls on there, because proper parental controls these kids can't get around. Trust me, I've been around long enough that I have sat with certain companies and helped create their originating parental controls. I'm about to be 46. All of my children are grown. Okay. They still come to me to ask me about the security of certain stuff and what they should do. You cannot live by the excuse that, these kids know technology more than me. And you are a part of the government that is supposed to be in charge of the regulations to keep them and other people safe. Baby, do some research. Let me tell you, before I started working for myself, every job that I had, I learned it from the rooter to the tutor. I would come home, even when I still lived with my parents, I would study every manual through and through. There wasn't anything that could get past me. You understand me? I was earning that check. And on top of that, I could call friends and family members and get, like, there was a telecommunications company that I worked for a period of time. And that's when I started finding out about hidden fees within telecommunications. Because if you're on the outside of the club, you don't know what's going on the inside of the club. And I would call people like, check your bill, check for this, check. There were just two people that pushed back against me. Several years later, now that information is coming out, they're well past being able to get thousands of dollars back. But all that is. But from one bowl of craziness to the next, we talked about it a little bit yesterday. And y'all heard my commentary. I want y'all to hear somebody else's commentary on Candace Owen. And remember, the largest part of the disabled community are veterans. that conservatives love to tell you that they love and they fight for and they want to protect. Are y'all finding the theme here? But y'all go ahead and listen to what this lady has to say about Candace Owens' latest rant. Maybe y'all will hear her, because y'all ain't hearing me.
So Candace Owens is a fucking liar. She went on a rampage talking about being over inclusivity. And clearly she's running out of things on her checklist for people to shit on because now she's going after the disabled, which puts her in an all new bracket of asshole. Imagine losing your shit because you see someone in a wheelchair for an ad campaign and dedicating an entire segment in your show about it. Tisk, tisk, tisk. But not only are you an asshole, you're also a hypocrite. Because you see, Candace Owens does believe in inclusivity. She does believe that a group should be seen and heard. She's all for it. The internet never forgets, Candace. And neither do I.
What are you hoping could change as a result of this whole conversation?
Being able to have the conversation. I mean, for so long, Black conservatives have not been able to have a voice. They've been ignored.
Are you saying that you're representing Black conservatives? And that seeing someone like you who is Black and conservative gives people who look and think like you a voice? That's weird. It's almost as if representation matters. And you're living proof of that now, aren't you? So funny how something like that works. That, you know, like a minority group of people being able to see someone who looks like them or thinks like them is important because it's a way to feel seen and heard. Who would have fucking thought that that was important? Not you, though. No, 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 no. You're over this inclusivity shit. I mean, if that's not hypocrisy, then they need to rewrite the definition. So you're all about inclusivity after all, but it only chaps your ass when it's for other people. Noted. I mean, we all know the conservatives to be the party of me, 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 me. But in doing that, it kind of comes back to bite you. You shock jocks are just getting borderline annoying and predictable now. It's giving...
Yeah, that looks about accurate.
Yeah, it's the hypocrisy for me. Anyways, bye.
I've been telling y'all from the beginning, Coon-Tested Coalition members are the epitome of hypocrisy. The epitome. Because the mental gymnastics that they have to go through and what they have to convince themselves is true after they've utilized the backs, the labor, the intellect of the communities that they come from as marginalized individuals to now flip the script in order to be agents of white supremacy is astounding. But I don't know how many more examples y'all need before you get it. But before we continue on this journey, let's get into the ad. Once again, turn up your volume, make sure you place an order. Go refill your drinks, go refill your snacks, and come on back, because it gets even better.
So I'm generally not for doing this, for outing someone against their will, but in this case, I think it's absolutely warranted. I think you're going to find a ton of, and not just Florida. I think they should do it nationwide. Any state that's passing these anti-gay and anti-trans laws, they should out the list of Republican lawmakers who are on Grindr.
I'm with him. I'm not for forcibly outing anybody. You step into your comfortability when you step into your comfortability. But I would compel anybody who's open-minded and also religious, download Grindr and go to service. And those that just their bones ache with activism, download Grindr and go to these conventions. Go to these local meetings. Because geolocation is utilized. While they're talking about banning TikTok, Grindr tells you how close you are to somebody else. You catch what I'm putting down? I mean, that's just my 2 little cents. You can leave it on the table or you could slide it off. It's up to you. Now, y'all about to get mad at me. But when we say it's all white women until it's no white women, this is what we mean. And pay very close attention. And don't come into these comment sections. Don't come into my emails. Don't come onto different platforms trying to cat for this woman. Because you know my tongue is vicious and I will not hold back. I will verbally eviscerate your soul and that of every single person in your legacy plus your ancestors. Okay? Okay. Long as we're clear. Now pay attention. Faites attention, s'il vous plaît.
Devils say I lack empathy if you want, but if there's a choice between helping a human and helping an animal, 110% of the time I'm helping that animal, unless it's like there's children involved or like a very old person. It's a gray area over there. But like a middle-aged adult that can fend for themselves, let them fend for themselves. I'm going to help the animal. So anyway, there are a bunch of homeless people where I live, so it's not uncommon to see them. However, there is this one man that I saw a couple months ago with a cat. And when I see people with animals that don't have houses, I immediately go into panic mode, like, are you taking good care of them? So there's this man with a cat, and I borderline stalk this man to make sure he's taking good care of his cat. So I know where he sleeps. I know where he goes every day. I know this man's pretty much every move. Anyway, I bring him cat food all the time because I want to make sure this cat's having a good life. Do I believe that this man is taking good care of his cat? Yeah, I actually do, because I was very panicked about it and I was gonna like steal his cat if not. But he's taking really good care of his cat. He's got a great carrier for it, everything, but it keeps me up at night because every time I see this man and I talk to him and I give him cat food or things for his cats, he's progressively getting worse and worse with his, I don't know what he does, but you can tell he's on some sort of something. So my biggest fear is something will happen to this man and no one's gonna be there to take care of his cat. So anyway, it's been raining. This is what goes on in my head. I'm panicked over some man and his cat out there. So anyway, it's been raining freaky cats and dogs out there. It's freezing. And all I can think of is, how is this man's cat? How is this man's cat? Well, guess what? I saw him today because he wasn't in his usual spots because he had to be protected from his elements. Anyway, I found him. I saw him today. I give him cat food. I bring him this nice big warm blanket. I'm like, please use this for your cat. You can use it for yourself too. That's fine, but please use it for the cat. You don't even let me hold you, but you don't know how lucky you have it. You could be out there fending in the rain, Mr.
The fact that she's so disconnected and doesn't realize maybe this man's mental decline, because we don't even know if it's substance abuse, mental health issues, PTSD, we don't know, is because there's a woman stalking him because of his cat that's bringing him supplies just for the cat. You want this cat to have a good life. What I've known, and I've had pets since literally the day that I was born, okay? First cat that I ever got attached to thought that I was their baby when my mother gave birth to me. And my mama had rescued this cat as a kitten. And basically, she just told my granny and papa that she was going to have this cat. Just like she just told my granny and papa she was going to have me. That's the type of woman she was. But I digress. Cats feed off of, pets, period, feed off of their pet parents, their owners. If we're not right, they're not going to be right. They're not going to have a good life if we're struggling. When I was spiraling and I had Sir Puppers, he was spiraling. Before I had to go to the hospital and I didn't realize things were affecting me the way that they were, he realized it. If you go back to like mid-January and the first day of February, you see him constantly coming into frame to love on me, to do different things, because he realized something wasn't right in me, so something wasn't right in him. And you bring a big old blanket this is why we say it's all white women until it's no white women. It's not just that you see marginalized people as not human. You see anyone outside of yourself or outside of your immediate protectors as not human. You would put an animal above a human any day. You wanted to kidnap the cat to give the cat a better life, but not give that man any resources. You admitted that you kept bringing just cat food. This seems like a perfect time to talk about the history of Hollywood. Let's go.
Well, Fox's shows try to be current. Other networks keep pumping out good old-fashioned entertainment, like Circus of the Stars on CBS. Gabrielle Carteris is brought on as a trapeze artist, but when she's paired with another young star from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, she performs a high-wire act CBS isn't expecting.
I walk the high wire with Alfonso Ribeiro. It is death-defying because you have a net down there, but I carry weight, and it's very dangerous. We've been training for months and months, and for the dress rehearsal, the network came to watch us.
This is really fun, but it's also the scariest thing I've ever done.
Alfonso, because he had done such a great job in making me feel safe, I gave him a big hug, and the producers said, that was unbelievable, Gabrielle. Tomorrow when we, do it live, the only thing we're going to ask is please don't hug Alfonso. And I said, but why? And they said, well, he's black and you're white. And Middle America, I got to tell you, Middle America's blamed for everything. And they said they don't want to see, they can't accept that. And so I was so pissed that I said, oh, of course. And so I told Alfonso. And I said, so tomorrow when we do the show, I'm going to kiss you. And so when we did the show, I did.
And she's absolutely right. And if you know anything about the OG 90210, they should have known not to mess with her. But it's amazing how they always go, Middle America, Middle America, Middle America. Middle America, the middle class, is pumping out more biracial children than anybody else. Oh, and billionaire white men seem to prefer black women. So who really has a problem with it? I do think that it's the conservatives that keep buying up mainstream media, but then blaming it on the liberals. Because Rupert Rupert is doing quite the damage to a bunch of media. And we're finding out because of the Dominion case. Rupert. Not very Rupert of you. But let's lighten things up a little bit. The Duchess of Sussex has had a victory. Let's talk about it.
Oh my gosh, I came across this article today and it's worth reading. I've never heard of this website, but wait until you see the shade. So this article is worth reading. Meghan had a victory today against the colorful deranged. And I love how they compare them to Pinky and the Brain, because that's exactly what they're like. Just Pinky and the Brain, just every day trying to come up with ways to like make Harry and Meghan's life miserable. But not today, not today. So, not an attorney. From what I understand, it looks like the judge granted that it be postponed, the trial, and until July 3rd, I believe. It's in the next slide, which is amazing for Meghan. I feel like the judge wants to throw out the case. He has real cases to attend to, not this pettiness from Sammy. So that's great news for Meghan. Okay, so yeah, here it is, July 3rd. So it's either tossed out or it goes to trial. I'm hoping the judge throws it out. And also, has anyone noticed that they've been so quiet, Sammy and the dad? I thought they would give some kind of speech and be everywhere talking about when the children got their title, but they haven't. I hope there's a gag order. I hope Meghan countersues for emotional distress. I hope something.
The estranged half-sister and the father have been quiet because they're no longer getting paid by the royal rota. That's why. See, they're super quiet right now because they don't have any inside information to give. Meghan and Harry are back in the United States on the dad and estranged sister's soil. All of the stories that they were given while Meghan was in the UK, it was easy to cover that up. It was easy to push that forward. But now they're in the same stomping grounds. And if y'all pay attention to the pay attention, the folks that claim to be so close to Meghan and Harry, they had no idea when they were moving back. They had no idea where they were moving to. They couldn't tell you an address. And see, this is something that I do in my regular, schmegular life. There are folks that can't stand me, that always want to put me in a bunch of mess. I have moved and never told them an address. They had to find out from other folks who eventually came to visit me, and all they had was the city or the general location. I've changed numbers and they ain't had it. So they could no longer put bullshit out. And that's what Mary and Harry are doing. That's why. Ain't no back talk. But y'all, you know we love a good passport bros story, because these passport bros love trying to bash on Black women like we give a damn. We didn't give a damn about you before you became a passport bro, and we don't give a damn about you now. Because you can't compete where you don't compare. But baby, it keeps getting worse. You say that we gold diggers, but you want to go to other countries to use your money to get a woman. You say that Black women are loose in the caboose, but you're going to sections of certain countries known for certain things. You know what? Y'all just take a look. Y'all just...
King Brugal with another exclusive. If y'all not following me, you already know y'all missing out. I'm the most hated by men on TikTok. This passport bro, as of a couple days ago, this is an article on CNN Brazil, is now being officially investigated for Black trafficking. Yes, you see it in the title. You see it. You know what that is. The práctica de turismo sexual. Y'all know what it is. So, let's dive deeper. So, as you see here, it's in Portuguese, but I have translated it because I know that the passport bros that are listening, they don't like to go do their research to translate. They just say we're making it up. So I'm going to translate and then you guys can go translate it back. It says, the Public Ministry of Bahia started this Monday an investigation to investigate an alleged practice of the crime of Blex trafficking by the North American YouTuber Austin Holloman. Wow, family, this is wild. And I had assumptions and suspicions that he was running from the law because I watched an interview where he alluded to it, but I never really put it out. You know, I was caught up with, keeping up with my spiritual clients, the people I have under me, things like that. So I really didn't jump on it, but now this is official tissue news that's coming out from CNN Brazil. Okay. It continues to say, sought by CNN, the public prosecutor's office says that it has instituted a procedure to investigate the alleged practice of the crime of Blex trafficking on his part. The information is being duly analyzed for the adoption of appropriate measures. Woo! It also says, CNN also tries to contact the YouTuber, but has not received a response. Hey, Austin, CNN, they hitting you up. I know you're getting the messages. They're looking for you. They're looking for you, okay? He is now an international refugee. This is crazy, y'all. Well, it's official. Brazil done open it up as a real investigation. The laws is involved and all that. It's crazy in these streets, y'all.
So we've had a passport bro get stuck in another country because he couldn't pay $100 fee. Another passport bro be indicted and convicted of murder. Now, I'm not even going to go through the whole list because passport bros don't want none of me. But from one set of bros to the next, somebody thought that they could call a witness. I'll give y'all two guesses as to what side of the law that witness was on.
Oh my god, do you want some tea? So apparently 4 of the Proud Boys were planning on calling one of their members as a witness. Except federal prosecutors revealed today that that was an informant. The whole time, the guy that we're gonna call as their witness worked for the FBI. Oh my god. He fucking worked.
See, Proud Boys, you were so like, you thought you had a gotcha moment when you found out that there was an informant put into the Black Lives Matter movement. See, the problem with the federal government is that they always seem to fuck up. They put a white guy as the informant into the Black Lives Matter movement who kept trying to push for violence. We aren't the violent subsect of society. But your good old boy that you thought was going to come through and save the day, he was going to ride in on a white stallion with the Stetson in. And he's been turning state's evidence on you. He's the reason why you're locked up right now. How apropos. How apropos. How apropos. Now, from one situation of you should have seen it coming to another situation of you definitely should have seen it coming, but white mediocrity will continue to carry you. Remember when I reported on The white woman who wrote a whole book about wokeness and indoctrination, but she couldn't define what woke was. Then she tried to double down and blame the black woman for why she couldn't define it. She got a second chance, y'all. Of course she did. Let's take a look.
So Bethany Mandel, the conservative author who went viral last week for not being able to define woke, even after writing a whole book on woke indoctrination, recently wrote a follow-up piece of the incident in Newsweek. And one thing everyone's noticing is that the article is full of white tears. And I pretty much mean that literally. Even though she doesn't find room to define woke or address any of the critiques of her argument, there are not only one, but 2 paragraphs dedicated to describing how she cried after she got off air. And feel free to call me woke, Bethany, but I recognize this pattern all too well. Because of American society's long-standing portrayal of white women as delicate and in need of protection, people like her have been able to emotionally manipulate situations to avoid taking accountability for issues that they've created. So now the whole conversation is about how sad Bethany was and how mean people were to her on the internet, when all of the critiques were actually about how she's selling a book that pushes forward a narrative that will result in so much psychological and physical harm to marginalized kids. And if that wasn't enough, she pulls a double whammy by somehow trying to blame this on the black host of the show. In some follow-up tweets after the incident to explain why she short-circuited, she somehow brings up Brianna Gray talking about parents before she went live. And just to remind you, though this wouldn't be me, Brianna Joy Gray actually came to the defense of Bethany and said she wasn't trying to create a gotcha moment and that she understood why it was hard to define woke. And Bethany still threw her under the bus. So for someone who is all too ready to attack social justice awareness, Bethany used the same tactics that show why we need to learn about this stuff in the first place. But comment your thoughts and follow for more.
She doesn't have to learn. If you follow me on TikTok, then you already know about this theory. If you don't, let me explain it to you. It's called the default damsel in distress. This is how white women are brought up. For the past 2 summers, there have been white women who have come out on several social media platforms and admitted that they were taught how to weaponize their tears. They were taught, hence the fact that we have an influx of Karens. And even though Karen denotes a particular type of behavior, who predominantly exhibits that behavior? She wrote a book and even stated in that interview that she spent a chapter defining woke and wokeness. But when asked, couldn't define it. And just as the default damsel in distress will do and will always do, what does she do? Oh, and it was the black woman who said something right before when we were at commercial break that just had me so verklempt, even though I'm superior to her and I know If I write a book on subject matter, you should be able to ask me any question regarding what I put into that book, any type of subject matter that I put into that book, because that means that I had to study that subject matter to show myself approved enough to get it published, right? Yeah, it's the case for everybody but white people. I said what I said. Because if you haven't figured out that the art of the deal was the art of bullshticking, I don't know what to tell you. Oh, you need more information regarding that? Let's look at how in depth and how far back whitewashing goes. You must be new here if you thought that I wasn't going to come with the receipts and the facts. Let's get it.
European scholars performed all sorts of intellectual acrobatics to obscure the truth about African advancement. Some even suggested that African accomplishments were the results of visitors from outer space. Any wild idea was more acceptable than to admit that Africans had the intellect and ingenuity to develop and control well-ordered empires. The purpose of all these erroneous theories was simply to justify slavery and attitudes of racial superiority. White supremacists built their bridges, constructed of lies to fill the gap between real African sophistication and false African inferiority. Because of this, a devastatingly unknowable amount of history is lost forever. Pair that with half-hearted archaeology and the Western tendency to ignore the oral histories of indigenous Africans, and you see how difficult it is to be recovered. And history was more than lost, it was banished. As the sun set on the British Empire in the mid-20th century, officials destroyed, removed, and renamed records of imperialist crimes all over the world. What's burnt won't be missed, cried a British officer as he frantically sifted piles of papers in what was called Operation Legacy, a systematic effort to shape the legacy of the empire post-colonization.
Welcome back to another episode where we learn something new in about 3 minutes. In that Operation Legacy that she mentioned at the end of her video, we're going to learn something new about the 4 Kenyans who exposed the British Empire and their secret files. Let's get started. Now, before we talk about the exposing of the British Empire, let's talk about the background as to why this occurred in the first place. As I always say, origins always matter, and we're going to talk about how the UK's colonization of Kenya exposed them in the long run and exposed them more than they ever thought. So the UK moseyed their way down to what we now know as Kenya and established the East Africa Protectorate in 1895. And from 1895, it was used as a settler colony. White settlers took the best land for their own and moved all the native groups out. And naturally, this would upset Kenyans who were removed and placed on resource-poor lands. Now, although the official uprising didn't happen until 1952, this was decades in the making. Now, the idea of this uprising was initiated by the ethnic group the Kikuyu, and other ethnic groups soon followed because they were being affected by their lands being taken away. Initial attempts at peaceful negotiations by the Kenyans failed, and resistance grew violent by the British as they resorted to detention camps. In a violent, desperate attempt to regain control over their African colony, the British declared a state of emergency in 1952. And they enforced a policy called villagization. And by 1955, more than 1 million Kikuyu people and other ethnic groups had been removed from their homes and relocated inside barbed wire compounds, known as detention camps. Because of the propaganda and lies spread by the British Empire, the recorded death toll by the UK was 11,000 people. Many historians refuted that death toll, and they believe that it was almost 300,000 Kenyans who were killed in these detention camps. And as the saying goes, whatever you do in the dark always comes to light. And 50 years later, in 2009, a group of Kenyan war veterans sued the British government in order to reveal the truth about what really happened in Kenya and other British colonies. And they sued the British colonial government with the help of Carolyn Elkins. She actually had written about these uprisings and the death tolls and the hidden information years ago, but all her other fellow historians who were men literally dismissed her and told her that she didn't know what she was talking about. From 2009 to 2011, Carolyn Elkins and the Kenyan war veterans were getting all of their information together, but in 2011, something was exposed. And what was exposed were these archives, all about Britain's colonial history. And as she mentioned in the previous video, they burned a lot of the documents, but a lot of the documents they kept in these little files right here. Now, historians already knew that Britain and other, colonizers had destroyed documents. That's not surprising. But for years, they had clues that existed that Britain also had colonial records that were considered too sensitive to be left in the hands of the colonies that they left. Now, Kenyan officials already knew about this way back when. In 1967, they wrote the British Foreign Office asking, where are the papers that show what you did to our country? And you know what Britain's response was? We don't know what you're talking about. But internally, British officials acknowledged that more than 1,500 files, over 100 feet of storage, had been flown from Kenya to London in 1963. Yet they conveyed none of this to the official replies to the Kenyans. They were simply told that we don't know what you're talking about. What files? What paperwork? Nothing happened here. After a bunch of legal pressure, the British government finally admitted that they keep these files in a high security storage facility that's also in the same building as MI5 and MI6. These are their secret service agencies. This storage facility also contained information from 37 other colonies that they terrorized. And after being clearly exposed, the British government tried to say that they could not be held responsible for the colonial abuses and that responsibility devolved to the Kenyan government. Even the judge in this case was like, are y'all serious? Y'all are guilty as hell. And the foreign secretary in the parliament in June 2013 announced an unprecedented agreement to compensate over 5,000 Kenyans who were tortured and abused, and they would each receive about 3,800 pounds. Still not enough. It was the first time that Britain had admitted carrying out torture anywhere in its former empire. And this is the reason why I love learning about African history, because this stuff didn't happen a long time ago. Colonization didn't happen a long time ago. Enslavement of Black people didn't happen a long time ago. And this is why it's so important to talk about African history, because African history is world history. I hope you learned something new.
So, your favorite Black Sheldon Cooper is about to break some things down even more to you. Did you hear the years? 50s, 60s, 70s. Ooh, that wasn't hundreds of years ago. That wasn't so far remote. Now, was it? Also, let's talk about something that I had talked about previously just a little bit. Isn't it amazing that racists who love to talk about in the heritage of a hate, but they also like to attribute our contributions to aliens. So you're going to tell me that you're the superior race, but aliens came down to fuck with the rest of us, but not you. Wouldn't aliens with superior intellect want to go to the people that have the closest in intellect to them? Because I know when I sit down and have conversations, I'm not trying to go to the people that are like on the Marjorie Taylor Greene or Lauren Boebert level, because that's just gonna give me a so aliens was messing with everybody else, but the people that certain history books said were the greatest of the greatest. I guess that's why when I was growing up, so many white people in trailer parks were claiming that they were abducted and booty probed by aliens. Because, of course, a species that could go between galaxies at the speed of light, quicker than the speed of sound, we'll go, oh, we can get the most information out of you by going up your booty hole. Your dog might be an alien. But there's two more things we got to talk about. Now, you know, Trump is the one who put out that he was going to be arrested on Tuesday so that he could have protests. And then he found out it was just only, Here's his follow-up to his PR campaign.
Oh my goodness, what is this? Donald Trump is holding a rally in Waco, Texas on Saturday, March 25th. So everybody should sign up so we can fill that stadium, right? Because we want to make sure that we sell out all the seats. Link will be in comments. Each time you register, you get 2 tickets per mobile number.
See, that's part of the reason why Trump originally wanted to ban TikTok, and that didn't work. And I'm not going to keep telling y'all the same thing over and over again. But his didn't even get put on the short list of I would run with you. Sycophants. Marjorie Taylor Greene is, y'all just take a look. Woo!
Marjorie Taylor Greene has announced that she is more than willing, in fact, she is definitely going to the best of her ability, hold the funding for the federal government hostage until everybody agrees to defund all of the investigations into Donald Trump. Marjorie Taylor Greene's announcement says that the left, of course, has weaponized their power at both the state and federal level. So what she wants to do is invoke the so-called Holman Rule, which would give Congress the authority to single out departments and sometimes even individuals in the federal government and strip them of their funding. And she says she will do this as part of the debt ceiling negotiations currently taking place in Congress. So imagine for a second, like we know we're headed towards that cliff. Okay, we've already hit the debt limit. We do have enough money right now to keep us going for a couple more months. Experts are saying that maybe by June, maybe by July, if we're lucky, we'll be able to pay our bills. Then after that, bad things start happening. Federal employees become furloughed. Federal employees do not get their paychecks. Recipients of Medicare and Social Security could lose out on benefits. All kinds of bad things that affect average everyday people are on the horizon if we cannot get this debt ceiling deal reached. And Marjorie Taylor Greene says that I will do what I can to block this unless we protect Donald Trump. Because in her mind, even though she's an elected representative for an entire district in Georgia, tens of thousands of people, I will screw you all over to protect one corrupt individual. That is the message that Marjorie Taylor Greene is sending those voters who sent her to Washington, D.C. Now, I'm sure some people on the left say, well, you know what? They deserve it. Yeah, maybe they do. The rest of the country does not. And in fact, honestly, I'm not even willing to say that the voters in her district deserve that. Because if you look at the demographics of her district, yeah, a lot of people will be impacted by this. But she doesn't care. So rather than sitting here saying like, well, they deserve it. No. Why don't we explain to them in normal, calm terms that their elected representative is throwing each and every one of them under the bus in order to protect Donald Trump? Is that fair? Is that fair that you could lose your Social Security because Marjorie Taylor Greene doesn't want Trump investigated? Is it fair that any federal workers in that district or literally anywhere in the country will lose their paychecks because Marjorie Taylor Greene wants to protect Donald Trump? The answer, of course, to any rational thinking person is no, that's not fair. That's very stupid. But that's the government we have today. There is nothing fair about it, but there's a hell of a lot of stupid to go around.
Let me add some nuance to this. I have zero sympathy for them. This isn't the first time that she stuck her neck out for Donald J. Trump. This isn't the first time that she's tried to skew legislation his way for the benefit of him and not the benefit of anybody else. They knew what they voted for. They 100% knew what they voted for, because let's roll back the clock. She moved districts. She moved into a district that she knew as the white, racist, xenophobic, homophobic, transphobic person that she is, where she would be predominant. These people will burn their houses to the ground and still stand up and say that they are superior to marginalized people. But then sit there and tell us, y'all make everything about race. You make everything about this. We're all equal right now. Are we? Are we though? They knew what they were getting with her. They knew when she was censured the first time around, when she was harassing the survivor of a school shooting. They knew. They still supported her. See, I'm not about giving people passes or giving people excuses. See, white privilege and white mediocrity does not flourish here. What does flourish here is acceptance, is allowing people to live their best life without invoking any type of harm onto somebody else. If you didn't catch what I said, pause it, run it back, re-listen, and come back to this point. Oh, you're back? Oh, okay. What we're not going to do is pretend to be woke, pretend to understand the social injustices, but still give excuses to the people that are not moving towards equity. That's what we're not going to do. Not today, tomorrow, the next day, not yesterday, not That's not what we're going to do. Not at all. Especially since the vast majority of the comforts that you all enjoy right now came off the back of Black, brown, indigenous people of color, specifically the women that are Black, brown, indigenous people of color. That's what we are not going to do. Not any day here. Now, tomorrow, things will be a little bit different. We're going to go through all the videos that I could not touch on this week because I did have to take some time off. My apologies. But we're going to deep dive into everything that we weren't able to touch on to throughout the day. And if any breaking news happens, I'll just post it. So if you are not subscribing and you haven't clicked the little bell, you might not know, baby, but you might want to know. And also, go through the link tree. Follow what you need to follow because all the content is sprinkled around, okay? And as always, make sure you check out the links in the description of this video. And thank you always for tuning in. Each one teach one. Excuse me. Each one teach one, each one reach one. And I'll leave you with a little women's history factoid. Till tomorrow.
Hello, my name is Mary Prince. I was born into slavery in Bermuda in 1788, and I spent most of my life in bondage. I was sold multiple times and suffered unimaginable cruelty at the hands of my owners. But I never gave up hope. In 1828, I managed to escape to England, and with the help of abolitionist supporters, I published my autobiography, The History of Mary Prince. It was the first account of the life of a Black woman to be published in Britain and helped to galvanize the abolitionist movement. My story helped to change history and played a significant role in the eventual abolition of slavery in the British Empire.